Redout 2 may be a racing game, but after a long and frustrating limp to the finish line, I'm left wanting more from its universe than from its actual racing gameplay. Bear with me, and I'll tell you why. On the surface, Redout 2 looks like any other anti-grav racer. Super fast anti-gravity racing ships, twisting, turning, looping tracks, and an electronic soundtrack fit for the future. All that's missing is the fun. My first few hours with Redout 2 were spread out over a few days. I'd pick up the controller with the best intentions of tackling the career mode, only to hit a brick wall on the third tutorial. The annoyingly difficult and annoyingly underexplained boosting tutorial. The boosting tutorial tasks you with racking up 1000 points by going super fast and boosting for extra speed and points. Yet, no matter what I did, I couldn't break the 1000 point mark to continue on with the career mode. I would try a handful of times, get frustrated, and then give up, telling myself I would try again later. This cycle continued for a few days until I was moaning about it to one of my buddies who also has the game, and he explained that I needed to use the super boost and the regular boost together. Lo and behold, he was bloody right, and I beat the level on my very next try. Why then was this not explained as part of the tutorial? This early doors kerfuffle kind of set the tone, and as a first impression, it definitely didn't do the game any favours. After finally getting through the tutorial and into some actual races, it didn't really get much better. I found myself smashing my ships against the walls of the narrow tracks or flinging them off into the abyss. It doesn't help that the controls are needlessly overcomplicated for what should be a fairly straightforward arcade racer. Instead of using the left stick to steer and giving the right stick a rest, Redout 2 requires input from both. If you want to make a turn, you need to nudge both analog sticks in the direction you want to guide your ship, initiating a quasi-drift mechanic. Likewise, when you're airborne or just going up and down steep track sections, you need to control the pitch of your ship to keep your momentum. Fail to do this and you will slow down, take damage, or, as was the case for me more often than not, completely miss the landings and end up exploding into the admittedly impressive scenery. After a few hours of play, I did manage to kind of get to grips with the controls, but I can't say that I was ever fully satisfied. I never truly felt like I was the one steering the ship, but that's just one of Redout 2's problems. I'm no stranger to a good challenge, and I actually play the game of life on hard mode. I'm an asthmatic smoker who boxes competitively. Yeah. But Redout 2 had me enraged. The difficulty curve is harsh as heck, and I can see it being a massive barrier for the casual player who picks up the game based on the fact it looks a lot like the good old familiars. It doesn't help that the tracks require pod racing reflexes where you need to be initiating the turn a good 1 or 2 seconds before it's even appeared. Or even adjusting your speed and trajectory for a jump that A, you can't see coming, and B, you can't see the landing for. I would blast full throttle at a jump, only to find myself massively overshooting the landing because I didn't realise I needed to lower my speed and pitch down into the next section of track. These moments felt super cheap, and I felt like I was being punished for being a new player who didn't have the tracks committed to memory. I am sure that the hardcore sci-fi racing fans out there will find a lot to enjoy in Redout 2, with its career mode, arcade mode, and online multiplayer. If you can take the time to master the controls and map the tracks to your brain, I can see it being a fun challenge, but it's not for me. Less is sometimes more, and a little less complication in the game's controls and mechanics could mean a hell of a lot more fun for a wider audience. One curio of Redout 2, and this brings us back to the beginning of this review, is the game's universe. The Redout series has already expanded beyond racing with last year's Redout Space Assault, and I think there's the possibility for it to go further, maybe leaving the racing behind altogether. I say this because each exotic track is introduced with a little lore by way of the smooth voiceover. This is very unusual for a racing game, but I found it weirdly wonderful, and it had me wondering what else is going on beyond the colourful death trap tracks that I'm not really enjoying. Is there an RPG down in New Tokyo? A first-person shooter on Mars? A stealth horror in the depths of the Mariana Trench? I don't know, but I think it says enough that instead of enjoying the racing, I'm fantasizing about being just about anywhere but on the game's tracks. And that is the end of this review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful in some way. If you did, do us a solid, leave a like, a comment and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Don't forget the bell icon too, so that you're notified whenever we've got new stuff for you to watch. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, cheers my dears.